So I'm a little late to the party on this one. This has been news for about 2 weeks or so. And I honestly really wasn't sure if I was ever going to talk about this whole topic about the PlayStation 4.5 or 4K. But after thinking about some of what's going on and the fact that this rumor has been super persistent and a lot of details and sources are actually making it seem like this is kind of pretty true, I figured, you know what, I did want to have a quick conversation with you guys about it and throw my 2 cents into the ring. So of course we know what I'm talking about. There has been rumors and discussions the last couple of weeks that Sony might be working on a new updated version of the PlayStation 4, similar to what Nintendo has done with the 3DS, or so we think. That's kind of the whole sticky thing about this scenario is there's really 2 ways that Sony could be approaching this if this were true. And again, still it hasn't been officially confirmed, but the level of details coming out about whether or not this seems to be true is really starting to be overwhelming on the side of it being a real thing and something that Sony is truly considering doing, or that Sony actually is doing. So if it were true, and if they were actually trying to make some sort of new version of the PS4, an upgraded version of the PS4, there's 2 ways they could probably approach it. One is the extremist way, which is that it would be a fairly significant improvement and overhaul where the CPU, the graphics processor, the speed, the overall ability of the machine is improved quite a bit, allowing for games to look better, have better graphics, better anti-aliasing or whatever. I'm not really good with like the tech specs kind of thing, but ultimately just be a better machine. The same way that you can improve the internal components of a PC to make the same game look much, much better if it's on that better machine is what Sony might actually be doing with their machine, where they literally are replacing and improving the internal components of the box. The other thing that they might be doing is the Nintendo route, the Nintendo 3DS route, where they're actually just making small incremental improvements, maybe just a faster GPU or CPU. I think it's the CPU that would be faster, not the GPU. Yeah, CPU is computer, GPU is graphics. I am not the guy who's into these things, so forgive me for messing up the terms. But basically a faster, slightly more efficient machine is what I'm saying, whereas the 3DS has the ability to run certain games better, smoother, and faster, i.e. Hyrule Warriors, or even some games that could only run on the 3DS, like Xenoblade, and I shouldn't say some games, the one game that can only run on the 3DS, on the new 3DS. And they also improved, like the interface in the sense that they made the 3D better and they added the camera stick. So they've done small improvements that don't necessarily alienate everything that the original 3DS did, the original 3DS owners, and people who had games for that original 3DS. So that you're not really segregating your audience, you're just kind of adding a slightly better experience to those who are willing to buy the newer version of your machine. So those are the 2 ways that one could approach doing this, that Sony might be looking at doing this, and it's become really controversial. A lot of people are throwing their hats into the ring and coming on one side or the other and talking about if it's a great thing or a terrible thing. Most people are pretty negative on it, and I see why. I'm mostly negative on it too, I have to tell you, but I can see why some people maybe like the idea, and it's a matter of how they would actually be doing it if it were true and what it would mean. So the main reason I even wanted to talk about it real quick is as per usual, the way I like to approach these things is if it were true, what does it mean for gaming? Because I think that it could very much mean a big thing for gaming if this happens. Now, I know you might be saying, well, if Nintendo already set the precedence and they did it with the 3DS, and it was kind of a bum move, but people got over their anger very fast and everyone realized it was a great product and now everyone just kind of accepts it. And so why put the same level of kind of anger or issues on Sony? And I do understand that. It's actually a very valid point. But I do think that there's a case to be made that says, well, because this is their home console, because it's only 2.5 years old, and because it's so much more expensive than a 3DS, I think that's where it's kind of okay to look at this in a slightly different arena than what Nintendo did with the new 3DS, and look at the product and the scenario fairly differently because it's so much more money and it's the home console. And it's newer. At the time that Nintendo did it, the 3DS had been out for like 5 years or whatever. At this point, it's only 2.5 years into the PlayStation 4's life cycle. You'd have to think Sony is planning on another 4 or 5 years or so out of it. So to do something like this could be a very big deal and might be a little bit more offensive to people. So what could this mean for gaming if Sony was doing this? Well, if they were doing this the extremist way, where they were vastly improving and changing what the makeup of the PlayStation 4 is, I think that it's a bad trend, obviously, because as a few people have talked about, one of the things that makes console gaming so great to those of us that enjoy it, and what also differentiates it from the PC gaming market, is the simplicity and the uniformity. Like the very consistent nature of you buy your box and your box is always going to be that way. And any software made for it is always going to be identical to anyone else's software and anyone else's identical machine. And it's simple. You plug it in, you turn it on, you put your game in, you start, you play. It's the same every time on every other PlayStation or Wii U or Xbox or whatever. And that's one of the reasons why, even though I do enjoy PC gaming, for good PC games, I still prefer console gaming because I like that experience. I really, really enjoy that, the simplicity. As you've heard me already talk about specs and hardware, I don't fucking know that stuff. GPU, CPU, DirectX 985 CYZ, like that stuff, that's not me. I don't know that stuff. I don't really care about it. I just care about what the actual product is at the time that it's plugged in and I'm using it, whether it's a PC or a console. And to be fair, most gamers are that way. Obviously, there's a huge contingent of you guys out there that really know your shit. And I'm jealous. I wish I knew it like you guys did. I think it's very impressive. But you guys make up, although there's a large amount of you, I think you very much make up the smaller amount of gamers out there. That's just a fact. Not an offensive, mean thing. It's just the truth, and you have to accept that. So that's why a lot of gamers, myself included, like the simpler stuff, and we like the fact that consoles are just plug and play, basically. Like I super dig that. That's made me excited ever since I've been a gamer, since I've been a kid. So if Sony sets the precedence with home consoles, building off of what Nintendo has already put in place with the 3DS, I think that we could be looking at a very dangerous scenario where it's a whole nother way that the gaming industry can find a way to milk a lot more money out of gamers and potentially screw some people over. And obviously we're in, as much as I still love gaming today, I've acknowledged many times the huge problems with the DLC and the microtransactions and the broken games and the things that are kind of sucking extra money out of gamers, like these BS pre-order bonuses and BS limited editions with just dumb things that cost $150. It's like they're finding so many ways to get more money out of us, you guys. And it really should just be spend a couple $100 on your machine. Okay, now spend the same $50 or $60 on every game. Just the end. And that simple, nothing more to it. That would be ideal. But we're not in that age. The internet makes these things possible. And budgets for gaming is crazy inflated. So they're spending so much money to make these games that they have to do kind of backhanded, dirty things to get their money back. And it's a really unfortunate cycle. Adding this into the fray, where now it's almost like we're not only trying to get extra money from game purchases, now they're trying to get extra money from hardware purchases. It's like a really crappy version of DLC for hardware. It's like PlayStation 4 DLC, like upgrade your PlayStation 4 to this new thing. Even talks, Phil Spencer talked about upgrading components of the Xbox One a couple of weeks ago. He's since come back on that and said Xbox 1.5 isn't something we're interested in. We're interested in bigger numbers improvements and stuff like that, which was ultimately good to hear. But it was still something that he was talking about a month ago. That is very much in line with the rumor about Sony and the PS4.5 or 4K or whatever. So now all of a sudden it's like, here's your machine, you have it for a couple years, and it's not good enough anymore, so now you have to spend some more money to get a new one. And I think that if Sony did this and they did it in a way where people weren't able to just spend a small amount of money, people who already own a PlayStation 4, if they have to spend the same full price to buy this newer version, that's the problem. Of course, if it was like, you have your PS4 you bought for $400, here's the PS4.5, here's some sort of trade-in value or somewhere if you don't get the new PS4 for like $50 or $100 difference, that's actually not going to be that big of a deal in my eyes. But I certainly don't see it happening that way. It's going to be a scenario where, too bad, so sad, you got to spend another $400 for the PS4.5, the end, and that's going to be a problem. That'll be setting a very dangerous precedence in the gaming industry, because if Sony was successful with that, and most of these 40 million PlayStation 4 owners end up upgrading to this new one and Sony makes all that much more money, you better believe Microsoft and Nintendo and anyone else who's paying attention is going to realize that we are suckers and we will fall for that, the gaming public, and they can make twice as much money off the same amount of unit sales. And that's very, very dangerous. Now, the one last topic that I want to bring up and add to this conversation before I end this is something that I'm surprised people haven't been talking about. I actually kind of wish I included this longer in the video. Hopefully a lot of people actually come follow to the end of this video and hear this last point. A lot of people start talking about why this is happening, and does Sony feel pressured by gamers? Does Sony just want to find ways to make more money? What is the real deep-seated, shitty, underhanded reason that Sony is doing this? And I do think that those things are true. Some people talk about gamers are like, oh, we want better stuff, and so Sony's like, we'll make better stuff. Some people are like, oh, Sony's just trying to make more money and double the sales, and obviously I think that is true. Any company wants to find a way to make more money. So in that respect, I don't 100% fault them, because they're a business trying to find a successful, profitable business model. And if this worked, then they would have succeeded in that. But the other thing that I think people aren't realizing, and this is why I'm also not crazy angry about it, and in a small way I want to cut Sony and Microsoft some slack for even considering this idea, is I'm willing to bet you guys that this pressure is also coming from game developers. Look at how much of an issue it is for certain games to release on consoles and also on PC. And people and gamers and people within the industry talk about, man, the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One really didn't turn out to be as powerful as we were hoping or expecting. It's, far being outpaced by the PC. More than the previous generations, PC is really outpacing what the consoles can do. Like, the more powerful the PS4 and the Xbox One. Wii U, of course, is not really a part of that conversation. I think the NX will change that, but we're waiting to see on that front. But as far as PlayStation and Xbox, I love these machines. I really enjoy my PlayStation, my Xbox, and my Wii U a lot. They're fantastic. They absolutely serve my gaming needs. I have no qualms. But I can also understand, they're really not as powerful as what the competition on PC is doing. And when you look at what, games that look pretty good on the Xbox One or PS4 at 30 frames per second you can see twice the visual quality at 60 frames per second on a beefed up PC. And I think that what's happening is, now that industry insiders and the gamers have been pointing this out for a while and saying, oh man, the PS4 and Xbox One 2.5 years in, already outdated, I guarantee you guys that there is pressure to all three of these console manufacturers, Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft together, from game developers saying, hey, we can't make the games that we want to make. We can't do the things we want to do because your machines aren't powerful enough. We're building all our stuff and basing it off of all our PC components and everything we have, all our PC hardware in our labs, in our warehouses or wherever the hell they make their games, in their offices. And they've got like the full breadth of the best shit out there to put games on that they're developing for. And then it's like, well, we got to also put this on the PlayStation, the Xbox, maybe the Wii U. And look at this. It's like half the hardware quality. We can't make our games run this way. They're downgrading their games to make them run on the consoles. I love what the consoles are giving me, you guys, but I can acknowledge that is a true thing. I know that it's a true problem, quote unquote, if you want to call it a problem. And so I'm sure that it's the game developers that are putting crazy amounts of pressure on Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo to say, we need more out of your machines. We're sick of having to struggle to make our games run on your consoles, or we're sick of having to hold back on our game development and the quality of our final product because we have to account for your machines. Now, granted, they sort of have to bend to the whim. They have to bend to the will of the console manufacturers too, because honestly, there's a larger market on the console space, and there's more money to be made by making their games successful on the PlayStation and Xbox. And sometimes the Wii U, mostly PlayStation and Xbox, of course, than there is on PC. And I know PC gamers might get real defensive, like, oh, we're the more important. There's millions of us. We make the difference. And it's like, no, you guys really don't. Look at the ratio of sales of a big game like Star Wars Battlefront, or Mortal Kombat or anything, Dark Souls, hundreds of games, Battlefield, all these games, they'll sell okay on the PC, but by comparison on the consoles, especially the PlayStation 4 this generation or the 360 last generation, forget about it. There's 7 times as much sales on consoles than there are on the PC. The PC market is certainly important enough to always consider, and you guys do have access to the best machines. Of course, I get that. But there's more money to be made because there's a bigger market on the console. So there's a give and take, I think, happening where I think the developers want a lot more out of the machines that the consoles are making available, and they're not getting it. But at the same time, they can't outright say, forget you, Sony, we're no longer making games on your platform. They would never be that stupid because they make way more money off of Sony's machine because that's the machine that has 40 million units in people's homes. Xbox One is between 20 and 25 million. There's so many people that they can sell their product to by working with the console market that they obviously are going to find that compromise, but I'm sure that they're getting sick of it and they're saying, hey, you guys, you got to catch up to what we're doing because our games are sucking more because we can't make them to their fullest extent and quality because your machines are holding us back. And we're sick of having to make, a great PC version and splitting our assets off to also make, your console version that doesn't quite live up to what our PC version can do and blah, blah, blah. And people's visions are being compromised because they can't do what they want to do. So, In conclusion, I think that's a huge element that's leading to these rumors. And if there's something to Sony and Microsoft considering or thinking about this idea, I'm sure that that's part of the reason why, is that the developers, I guarantee you guys, have been saying, you guys got to fix this shit. Your consoles, they're neat and all. Your congratulations on your sales, but they're not allowing us to make the games we want to make. You're holding us back. You got to fix it. And I'm sure that that's part of the reason why Sony might be looking at this PS4.5 or whatever the hell it turns out to be. So, those are my thoughts. And again, this is one of those conversations that'll be really silly in a couple weeks if we actually end up learning for sure that this isn't happening. It never really was true. But I'm with a lot of people on the side that, based on how often it's been talked about and some of the sources and the way people are like, dude, this really seems more legit than we thought. I feel like there is a little something to it. Even if it never comes about, I think that if anything, Sony has been thinking about it or looking into it or talking to devs about it and considering what it would mean to make a PlayStation 4.5 or some slightly upgraded version of their console. I'm willing to bet that they've been talking about it internally and with developers in the industry, but what comes of it, we won't know until we actually find out. Maybe we have a PlayStation 4.5 to play later this year. Maybe we never get that until a PlayStation 5 comes out in hopefully another 4 or 5 years. So that's what's up. What's, remains to be seen. But those are my thoughts. Tell me what you guys think. Do you think my theory makes sense? Do you like the idea of upgrading consoles mid-generation, or do you hate it like most people and myself do? Tell me what you think it means for the game industry. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. This is Rob of Rule of Two Review, and I will catch you next time on another video.